Why is it important to pay off the debt? What someone can say,
Yeah.
hey, let me just, you know, why do I
Yeah.
have to pay off $50,000? That makes you feel good, is a peace of mind.
Mhm.
It also help your credit score, right? Credit score.
Yeah.
Um,
And for me, it was more about when I was laid off, when I found out I was $50,000 in debt.
mm,
So at the time we had lost 60% of our household income, a company car, and a health insurance in one day. And like literally 10-minute phone call, I lost all of that. And then that day I found out I was $50,000 in debt. So with a 1-year-old at home, a 1-year-old son at home, I am panicking. And so for me, it was more of a survival issue.
mhm,
Like we have to get out of this. We can't survive this way. We can't have $50,000 in debt sitting over our head.
mhm,
Basically a house that's probably a year old.
mhm,
And so we had that mortgage and all this kind of stuff. And so a lot of people may say, well, I'm just fine with the debt that I have in my life. You're fine until you're not fine. And then that's where you don't want to be, because then you're trying to scramble and figure things out. And it might not be in the same situation where I was able to get another job in 4 months. Some people, it take 8 months to a year to find a new job. And so that's why it's important to get debt out of your life as much as possible, because debt is risk. It's just
yeah,
a risk.
yeah,
Because if I couldn't pay those bills during that time, they could have came and took the one car that we did have,
mhm,
and they could have kicked us out of our home, and we would have been homeless. That
mhm,
that's what people should think about when they say, why should I pay off the debt? It's
mhm,
because you want to make sure that you're not having anybody in your life that can say, I'm taking this from you.
right.
So that's what I'm doing now. I'm aggressively paying my house off now, because no one is going to be able to say, oh no, we can come take you and kick you out of something. No, I'm going
Right.
to own it, and everything's going to be mine.
Yes. So
Yeah.
for people getting laid
Mhm.
off right now, the economy,
Mhm.
is very hard. What's your
Yes.
advice for them? How can they get back on their feet?
Yeah. So, and it depends on where people are watching us from. Here in the United States, we have something called unemployment benefits.
Right.
And so being able to, you have to go into survival mode when you're laid off, and to find a way to, whatever your unemployment money that's coming in each week, move your expenses back down to that until you're able to find a new job. You also, like I said before, can use your hobbies and your skill set to do things on the side. So if you know how to teach tennis, that's what I did for $25 an hour during that
Oh,
time. If you speak another language, teach that language to people that are in school, they're elementary school, middle school, high school, college, whatever skill set you have. That's the extra money that you can do while you're trying to find a job. But definitely make sure that you're cutting back where you can to be able to survive until you get another job.
nice. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's talk about credit score,
Mhm.
credit card. Do you have any thought on those,
Mhm.
on that?
Yeah.
People who,
And so
people who have bad credit.
yeah. And so I'm very different from every other financial person when it comes to credit and credit cards. Like I said, I speak to college students around the world, especially here in the States. Like I tell them, leave credit cards alone,
Mhm.
because it's just going to put them into more debt. Our student loan debt here, the average is $40,000 when people graduate.
Wow.
So they are coming out of school with, for 20, 40, and sometimes higher, $80,000 in student loan debt. So they cannot afford to go into credit card debt on top of
Right.
that. And
Right.
so when it comes to credit cards, I haven't had a credit card since 2006. So
Mhm.
whatever I'm talking about, I do. And so I haven't had one because I don't see a point to it. I teach people, and this is part of the financial literacy philosophy for me, is that I want you to be your own bank.
Mhm.
When you need something, you can go into your bank account and you can handle it. That's the whole point of it. And it's many countries around the world that don't even have credit cards. And that's something that Americans should think about.
That's
What,
true. A
like
lot of
they do
countries
not
around the world, they don't have that.
at
That's
all.
true. They
And
don't have
you'll be
credit
surprised.
score. There
Yeah,
is no credit
exactly.
score. There is no credit card.
At
That's
at
true.
all. And I tell
They
people
pay,
that all the time.
they
Oh, go
pay
ahead.
everything in cash. Most
Exactly.
countries, they pay
Exactly.
everything in cash.
Exactly. Or they pull their money together to help
Yes.
someone out.
Yes.
And so in America, they make you think that you got to have everything right now. And
Mm.
every commercial is about credit cards. Everything is about credit scores, because it's like, but when my grandmother was growing up, my great grandmother, they didn't have access to credit cards or credit scores.
That's
They
true.
built their own houses. They grew their own food. They made money. So why is it such a big deal now? It's because we're very impatient. And so you being able to be patient is what helps grow wealth, and you to be able to use that wealth to be able to buy what you want. So I am a person that doesn't care about credit cards or credit scores. I could not tell you what my credit score is.
Right.
And so because I'm going for zero. I just
Right.
want to pay my house down so I can
Right.
get to zero. Now, people who have bad credit, now that's one thing that you have obviously borrowed money and haven't paid somebody back. And so you have to get that fixed. So I always tell people to make sure that they take the steps, and you can go to a nonprofit credit agency and they can actually help you. Never go to those places that you hear on the radio, on TV saying they help you with your credit. They are going to make things worse. Go to someone who's a nonprofit credit counseling agency and let them help you to be able to get your credit score back up. And then once you get it back up, then don't worry about it. Start building up your money again.
That was really good. You're very conservative in the financial sector, which is good. Also, but if you want to buy a house, if you want to get a mortgage, you're gonna need to have at least a good credit score, right?
And that's not necessarily true.
Okay.
So like I said, here in the United States, again, like I don't know where everybody's looking from, but in the United States, you have different, like you have what they call an FHA loan, which someone can have a credit score of 680 and be able to get it. I always tell people, and this is what I tell students, I said, you want to be cash rules everything. Cash rules everything, especially in the housing market. So I tell them, I say, you need to, strive to get a 20% down payment for a home. And instead of you going to the traditional banks to look for a mortgage, the only thing they're going to look at is your credit score. You need to go look for a mortgage broker who's going to look at your entire life, how long you've been working at your job, okay? And that you have a 20% down payment. They'll look at all that stuff first before they start worrying about a credit score. So they're looking at the actual total person. And so I've had a lot of people that have done it that way, and they've been able to get the mortgages that they needed.
So mortgage broker, what are those? Are these like banks, or they're special organizations?
Yeah, there's special individuals who are able to definitely be able to like look at all the institutions that offer mortgages. So that's what they're doing. So instead of you going to this one bank and dealing with this one person with this one opportunity for a mortgage, this person is able to look across the board at everybody and bring you the best deal, basically.
Yeah, that's actually the good idea, because like you said, they can look at other metrics, like how long you've been, staying at your job.
Yeah.
That, those metrics, they didn't take those into account for your credit score.
Yeah. And how great you've been paying your rent on time. Like things that actually matter, because
rent, that's actually a great metric. Asking someone
exactly
how long you've been renting and how many months you've been paying that on time. That's actually a good metric.
Exactly. And it's just a way to look at the entire person. The reason why 2008 housing crisis happened is because all these financial institutions only looked at a credit score. So they said you had a 780 credit score, but didn't realize you have a $40,000 car and you got $60,000 in student loans. So as soon as they lost their job, they lost their house like this. So mortgage brokers and doing things the right way with going out their house is going to make sure that you're not house rich and cash poor. We want people to be, cash rich with a good enough house, because that's what it's about. Like you need is to live in. So start with a starter home. You don't have to go for the $300,000, $500,000 home on your first try. Like look for some deals and get into your first home, pay that off, rent that out, and go to your next home. Like you can build a real estate portfolio. It just takes time. And in America, we don't like to take our times. We're very impatient. That's why we end up in debt.